Commit to Wealth Nation, welcome to the Commit to Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Juan Vargas. Today on the show, we have Mark Podolsky. Mark, aka the Land Geek, has bought and sold over 5,200 land deals throughout his career, which began in 2000. He is the founder of Frontier Properties, and the land deals he's acquired have had an average return of 300% on cash flips and over 1,000% on deals he's offered on terms. Mark is also the host of the Land Geek Podcast, a show about land investing. Mark, welcome to the show.
Juan, thanks so much for having me. I also have two other podcasts, the Best Passive Income Model podcast and the Art of Passive Income podcast. So I love podcasts, man. So thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. And, for those of you guys that cannot see, we're recording this, it'll be on YouTube as well. But Mark is active, man. He's over here on his treadmill. He's still making things happen, that's the whole thing, like stay active while you're doing a podcast, knocking two things at once, huh?
Sure. Yeah. Look, sitting's the new smoking.
Yeah. You're sitting down, then, that's not too good. That's not too good. You want to be healthy and live a good lifestyle. So that is great. So Mark, tell us a little bit about your background, how you even got started in this business and then we'll kind of dive into today.
Sure. So back in 2000, I was a very miserable, unhappy, overstressed, micromanaged investment banker. I had a 45-minute commute to work and back. And, there were long hours, there were stressful hours. I had very little control. And it got so bad for me working with these private equity groups. And I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating Monday coming around. I'd get the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going by really fast and having me back at work on Monday. Man. I'm looking for a way out, and my firm hires this guy, and he's telling me that as a side hustle, he's going to tax deed auctions. He's buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar, and he's flipping it online, and he's making an average return of 300%. Well, I'm looking at companies all day long, and a great company has 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Great company. Average companies at 10%, and I'm looking at companies all day long less than 10%. So, of course, I don't believe him. And we go to New Mexico together. We drive around. We look at a bunch of raw land. I just do exactly what he says to do. I've got $3,000 saved up for car repairs. So I only have $3,000. I buy up 10 half-acre parcels at an average price of $300 each. I put them up online. They all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. 300%. It worked.
Yeah.
So I took all that money and went to another auction where I live in Phoenix. And again, this is 2000. There's no one in the room. I'm buying up lots. I'm buying up acreage for like nothing. And over the next 6 months, I sold all that property and I made over $90,000 cash. So I go to my wife. I'm like, honey, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to invest in raw land full time. And she says, absolutely not. She's pregnant at the time. So
too much of a risk.
Right. So including that 90, it took me about 18 months for the land investing income to exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit. And I've been investing full time since 2001.
Wow. So that is impressive. Tell us a little bit about how, which markets that you like to focus on, today and why those markets, what states, and, tell us like the kind of price points that you're also looking at as far as that's concerned.
Sure. I mean, let's be honest, Juan. Nobody wakes up and thinks to themselves, boy, I'd really like to buy some raw land today in Minnesota, unless you live in Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah.
Right. But if we're talking about Arizona, Texas, Nevada, California, New Mexico, Colorado, the Southwest, right? A little bit in the Northwest, Washington, Oregon, and Florida, right? These are fast growing states. They have tons of available, inexpensive raw land, and they're the sunshine states. People want to go there for a variety of reasons. Did I say Texas? So these are the states that we focus on. And the way that we do this is, I'll kind of walk you through the process.
Okay.
So where do you live, Juan?
In Texas, Houston, Texas.
You're in Houston. Okay.
Right.
So I contact the tax collector in New Mexico, the treasurer, and I get the people who own real property and owe back taxes. And I see on that list, oh, Juan Vargas, he owes $200 in back taxes on this 10-acre parcel in New Mexico. You're advertising two things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to that raw land. You're in Texas, the property's in New Mexico. Number two, you're distressed in some way because we don't pay for things we don't value. So I don't know what's going on with you, but you haven't paid your taxes, and you're getting every single month or quarter, depends on the county, a little notice from the treasurer saying you owe these taxes, and eventually you're going to lose that property to either a tax deed auction or a tax lien investor whom they can then foreclose and own that property. So what I'll do then is I will look at the comps for the last 12 to 18 months, the comparable sales on that property in New Mexico. And let's just say that the lowest comparable sale is $10,000. I'm going to divide by 4. And that's going to give me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So the most I'm going to pay, including the back taxes, is $2,500 for your 10-acre parcel. I'm not going to be like the housing guys. I'm not going to send you a letter saying I'm interested in buying your land. You call me back or email me back, I'm interested in selling my land. Then I'm in the appraisal business. I actually send you an actual offer of $2,500. Well, you don't care because you know you're eventually going to lose it. So $2,500 for you is better than nothing. So you accept. In the marketplace, 3 to 5% of people accept our quote unquote top dollar offer of 25 cents on the dollar. So now you say, okay, then what I'll do is I'll go through my due diligence. Got to make sure you actually own the property. Got to make sure there's no liens or encumbrances. I got to make sure there's no breaks in the chain of title. I have to make sure there's ingress and egress or legal access. I go through a whole property checklist, right? Actually for deals 5,000 or less, we outsource this to our team in the Philippines. We pay about $11 for due diligence. If it's an area that I've not been used to going and I don't know about it, I might have somebody, a local Craigslist gig, go out and fill out my property report, shoot pictures, shoot video. Are the neighbors dumping? Are there any dilapidated cars or homes nearby? What was the road but like? So I'll get a more broader feel. That might cost $50. The most I'm in on due diligence is maybe $61, right? So then everything checks out. And then I buy the property from you for $2,500. And then I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who that is?
Who's that?
The neighbors. The
Wow.
neighbors. So I send out neighbor letters and I say, look, here's your opportunity before I go to the open market. Expand your holdings, protect your privacy, protect your view. Oftentimes the neighbors will buy. If the neighbors pass, I'll go to my buyers list. These are people that have, given us their email address indicating interest in buying raw land. If the buyers list passes, I'll go to a little website you've probably never heard of called Craigslist. It's the 10th most trafficked website in the United States. Using software, I can put up about 128 ads by pressing a button. Same thing with Facebook buy sell groups. Then I'll go to like a site like landmodo.com that's free to list on. These are people that already know they're already bringing in traffic for land buyers. So within 30 days, I'm going to sell that piece of property. And the way that I'm going to sell it is where we get the passive income. I'm going to get ideally a $2,500 down payment, or maybe I'll go 6 months before I get my money out, right? So I get a $2,500 down payment, and then I'll just make it a car payment. Let's say $449 a month at 9% interest for the next 8 years, right? So it's a one-time sale. I get recurring income of $449 a month at 9% interest for the next 8 years. But Juan, no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act, any of this onerous real estate legislation. We automate the back end of collections using a program called geekpay.io. So that is a one-time set it and forget it process. So we're 90% automated with software because we work under the philosophy we can always make more money, but we can't get more time. And so essentially we have this scalable business. We can work it from anywhere in the world. All I need is an inexpensive laptop and an internet connection. and I'm in business. And so the game that we then play is, can we create enough of these land notes where our passive income exceeds our fixed expenses? And now we're working because we want to, not because we have to. And that's the business model.
Wow. Yeah. And I can see how it works, pretty well in your favor. So basically, essentially what you're doing is you're going out there, you're finding distressed owners of these properties, people that have, back taxes that, they haven't, paid, and, you're making them offers, and then you're, acquiring the property, you're turning around and selling these properties on, like you said, on terms, and then you're basically living off the cash flow and the passive income that it provides just on a piece of paper without having to deal with any tenants, any toilets, any termites, all those T's that go along with it. And then not only that, but like you mentioned, Dodd-Frank, RESPA, there's another thing. You don't have to deal with the fair housing or any of that. So,
right.
Oh, I mean, that's awesome. So how can someone get started? If someone wanted to, let's just say, someone heard this podcast and someone wanted to learn more about it. I mean, what would be their next step on that?
Well, I mean, do you care if I plug Dirt Rich, my new book? It's on
sweet.
Amazon. And
nice.
We have if you go to thelandgeek.com/Dirt Rich, we have $500 worth of bonuses included with the books and some contracts, etc. So I've got the book. They can also go to my website, thelandgeek.com. And I'll tell you what, if they email support@thelandgeek.com and they put in the subject line Juan Vargas or commit to wealth, we'll send them our $97 passive income launch kit course for free.
Sweet. You guys got to make sure you guys take advantage of that. That's legit. That's legit. So, I want to talk about how, let's kind of dig a little deeper on this, and how much is it costing you to actually, close on a lead? Like, what is the average cost that, for you have more experience in this, and, you're able to scale a little bit higher, but for someone newer, what do you think is going to cost them to close on a legit deal like that?
We tell people starting out, 20 offers a day, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So average person might spend $500 a month on their mailing.
Okay.
Then you've got maybe $11 in due diligence. If it's 5,000 or more, you'll close your title company, and maybe you split the cost with the buyer, so that's $500 right there. It's really inexpensive to get started. I've never had to use outside capital. So that's one advantage of it, is you don't need hard money. You don't need outside capital. I mean, I've got some clients, they started with $800. I started with $3,000. I had a client of mine, he was broke, and he starts mailing in upstate New York, and he locks up this deal for 10 grand. He doesn't have 10 grand. So he tells the seller, hey, look, I'm going to close in 90 days with you. Right. Uh-huh. And because this is such an uncompetitive niche, it's not like there's a bunch of letters going out there, right? No, like, you don't go on the HG network and DIY network, flip this land. Like, it's boring. It's made from my computer. So, there's no one doing it. And then, so I was like, okay, I'll wait 90 days. So in that 90 days, he sends out neighbor letters. So the neighbor agrees to buy it for $20,000, right? So he takes $20,000, uses the 10 to pay off his seller, and does a dual close with an infinite ROI. So you really don't need a lot of money to do this business. You just need a minimal amount to start your mailings, and do that.
Yeah. So, you got to have, something to get started and try to get these leads. So essentially what happened in your example was, he didn't have the capital for that. So basically assign the contract, so to speak, in other words. And
he didn't even assign the contract, because that would be more a wholesale type of strategy.
Okay.
This was just a dual close.
Just a dual close.
He used the neighbor's money to close with his seller.
Got it.
And then he kept the difference.
Sweet. So you mentioned earlier that, like, for example, he was in New York, and there's not many people that are, there's not much competition in that, right? So why do you think, it's not something that more people don't know about and more people don't do? You hear everybody, doing flipping in single family, or, they're doing, mobile home parks or multifamily or whatever.
Right.
But why aren't more people doing, land investing?
Well, I mean, let's say that we go to a RIA meeting,
okay.
Right? There's 100 people in that meeting. 99 of them are going to be either house flippers, landlords, or wholesalers. you and I are only going to be the only land guys. Number one, TV won't talk about it. Number two, there's no big money in it. Private equity groups and hedge funds, they're not doing it either. Typically, when people think about raw land, they're thinking about an asset that doesn't depreciate, it lasts forever, and doesn't cash flow. So we make it cash flow, essentially. It's not sexy. If I go to a party and tell somebody, hey, I'm an apartment syndicator, oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's an egoic, feeling of, hey, I'm in real estate, I'm doing big things, I'm raising capital, I'm doing a fund, whatever it is. You go to a party and say, hey, I'm a raw land investor. The next thing they're going to ask you is, oh, that's nice. And then they're going to switch the subject. Because what?
Raw is that sexy? It doesn't have that sexy appeal to it or anything. Yeah.
Right. So you buy dirt. Do you develop it? No. I don't. I mean, I tell them that's why I have the book is called Dirt Rich.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not sexy. And that's why there's just so little competition.
Right. And so you mentioned earlier, I'm kind of going back to this, but you mentioned earlier that, a lot of the deals that you acquire are because of back taxes. And so, what size of deals are these? What's the actual, acreage or square footage, on these, sizes of lots? What are you looking for? What's your main bread and butter there?
So I'm opportunistic, right? I've bought everything from 640 acre sections and subdivided them all the way to postage stamp lots. I will buy any asset 25 to 30 cents on the dollar, literally. In fact, it's impossible not to make money. I could wholesale that and make 100%. So that isn't really my concern. I would say that if I had my wish, like I had a fairy godmother that would just give me the ultimate parcel size, I love 40 acre parcels.
You said 40?
40s are great.
40. And why is that something that stands out to you?
They just through my career, they've always been the best to sell. They have the highest ROI. People love 40 acre parcels.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I think, someone starting out wouldn't necessarily, I guess it could be a good option, but I wouldn't see many people doing that. So another thing I wanted to ask you is, do you see any opportunities for development? The majority of my audience is in multifamily. They like multifamily. They're either multifamily syndicators, like you said earlier, or they're looking to get into their first property. But some of these guys also want to find some land, possibly for development down the road. That's not necessarily your strategy. I understand that.
That's an entitlement strategy. That's getting land ready to be shovel ready for a developer. There's a lot of money to be made in that, but it's a really risky strategy because it's going to take about a year. You've got to go through the whole process with the county. There's a lot of risk involved, and I'm a really risk averse guy. So, when I look at the numbers, 80% of developers go under. People that do the entitlement process, it's got a high high fallout rate. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, if we're easy, everybody would do it. And nothing in real estate is easy. I just this is very simple, right? You got a piece of land, you got a buyer and a seller. That's it. I don't want to deal with county and permitting and phase 1, phase 2 environmental, all these things. And then, I've spent $400,000 on that process and poof, I can't get approval and I'm out.
Right. That makes 100% sense. I mean, I think, at this point, everybody has, different risks tolerance, and some guys want to do that, other guys don't, but that doesn't work for you. So that's good. Another thing is, you mentioned, back taxes. What's another way that you can actually find these, type of deals that are going to be good returns?
So, I mean, there's so many ways to get deal flow,
right?
You can talk to wholesalers, other land sellers like myself who might need cash, nonprofits. Somebody deeds over a church a piece of raw land that they don't want anymore. Now the church is a problem. Now they got to pay the property taxes. Obviously probate deals are very interesting as well. Any type of a divorce situation is always a very good way to deal for cash flow or for deal flow. You can go to FSBO sellers on Craigslist and look for them. So there's no shortage of of deal flow opportunities. But the best place I think to go is get that property before it goes to an auction and mail directly to the owner. And even if you can't get the treasurer's list, get the entire county tax roll, right? Scrub out using, let's say, the use code of VL, just go to the people in vacant land. You can easily do your comps online or contact the assessor. You just put in a spreadsheet, you divide by 4. You want to scrub it by acreage. Don't send the person with 40 acres the same offer as the person with 1 acre, because that person with 40 is going to send you back glitter in the mail. But other than that, like, it's really hard to kind of, screw this up.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be better to kind of specialize in a certain, area, so to speak. It's kind of like in single family, those of you guys that do single family, you can do flipping, you can do, rentals, you can do those kind of things, but you kind of really want to specialize in that certain area that you're going to be doing. You're more opportunistic, like you said earlier. So you're pretty much, open to anything and everything. But I think, starting out, somebody should focus in their certain niche. If you can do land, then, focus on your 10 acres and below or something like that. So, but yeah, that is a great point that you were able to bring up right there. So, I think it is time for our nuggets of wealth, Mark. So we'll get into these questions, and these are questions that I ask every guest every week, and hopefully they're able to help out some of our listeners. So what key tip or advice would you give those who are looking to get started in land investing?
Get a Sherpa.
And
so,
what is that?
So a Sherpa, like if you go to Mount Everest, you can climb Mount Everest by yourself. Odds are you'll die on that mountain. If you hire a Sherpa, this is somebody that goes up and down the mountain every single day. They know what to look for. They know the weather patterns, right? Find somebody that's already done or doing what you want to do and has already accomplished what you want to do, and smart cut your success. No reason to make all the mistakes that I did, because I've made $1 million mistakes, right? Avoid it with a Sherpa. So get educated by doing that. Find a mentor to smart cut it.
Find a mentor, find a coach, someone who's doing what you want to do. Basically, it's just what you said. So that is great advice. What is a good tool, source, or platform that you use frequently that can also help others?
Oh my gosh, you want to get geeky?
I
love airtable.com.
Airtable. Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh my gosh. Or smartsheet.com. So take a spreadsheet and a database and marry them. And then using Zapier integrations, your automation is unbelievable. I love both those tools. And Zapier is like my favorite. I'm in Zapier like every day. So again, living by the philosophy, I can't get more time. I can always make more money. Anything that'll save me time, I want to do. Even if it's like a 1-minute task. I love Zapier for that.
Got it. Awesome. What is the best business advice you ever received?
The best business advice I ever received was think like an entrepreneur. So, an entrepreneur builds something bigger than themselves. A freelancer does the work. And when I first started, I thought, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I wasn't. I was doing everything. I was doing the due diligence. I was sending out the offers. I was, contacting the sellers. I was closing. Now I spend 2 hours a week in Frontier Properties just managing the team. So that was the best piece of advice I ever got.
Love that. And that's what everybody should strive to do, or strive to get to that point, right? I think at the very beginning, it'll be a little bit difficult to kind of get to that point, but, it's okay to kind of wear the hats at the very beginning, but, towards the end, once you're doing it for a good while, then you want to be in a position where you are similarly. What book are you currently reading?
So the book I'm currently reading, I'm always reading, right? So let me just give you the last few books that I've loved here. So I just finished Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. Phenomenal. Really talks about, these little glue gifts that you can give your customers, giving a little unexpected extra. Love that book. 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan B. Peterson. Waking Up, A Guide to Spirituality by Sam Harris. I love Deep Work by Cal Newport, because I have like business ADD, and this really helps me stay focused.
Yeah.
Grit, the power of passion and perseverance was fantastic.
Yeah.
The subtle art of not giving an F, I really loved. Never Split the Difference for Negotiating by Chris Voss. And I really love Principles, Life and Work by Ray Dalio. So those are like my summer reading list. And then the book I always have on my desk is, Chris Ducker's Virtual Freedom, How to Work with Virtual Staff to Buy More Time, Become More Productive, and Build Your Dream Business. I love that book. And then, of course, Dirt Rich.
Dirt Rich. Yeah.
Look at that shameless plug, Juan. I'm not even like embarrassed by it. Like, you're not embarrassed.
No, there's no reason to because, if you're going to get some value out of it, then, all we are doing is providing value. So at the end of the day, so what was the second to the last one, the one that you mentioned, the big, thick one that you had right there?
Principles and Freedom, Chris Ducker.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Where do you see your business here in the next 5 years?
So my business in the next 5 years, I mean, we're literally solving every pain point in our business. So I've got an office in the Philippines with my Land Geek VAs. We're building that for ourselves and our clients. We are, working on a fund right now because we have a lot of clients who are, they have what I call solo economic dependency. So if they're not working, they're not making any money, and they don't have time to kind of even get started in this. So we're creating a fund to help them as well. That's for accredited investors. So for the next 5 years, I'm just going to try to serve and help as many people as I can get out of solo economic dependency so they can really focus on what they really love to do in life. And for the most part, that's going to be, deep in relationships. Got it.
At the end of your life, how do you want to be remembered?
As a good ancestor. I want to be remembered as that person that you look back on and, was a great role model, had their priorities in line, lived a virtuous, principled life, and then have that filter through to everyone that I have touched in some way, and kind of be that pebble in the pond and have that impact go out, and especially in my family. So, my decision matrix is when I look back, if I'm like, if I want to make a decision, I think, well, at my funeral, how is this going to affect it? Am I going to be is this a good ancestral type of decision and not just a short-term fix of a problem?
Love that, because you're like the first one that's ever had given me that answer and, or that specific answer. And so that's interesting. That's good. I like it. Where can Commit to Wealth Nation go to contact you and find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, again, I would start at thelandgeek.com. Mm-hmm. They can download for free our passive income blueprint, get our ebook, How to Avoid the 3 Fatal Land Buying Mistakes, and then start getting the Art of Passive Income podcast delivered each week to their email inbox. Again, if they just email support@thelandgeek.com, subject line Commit to Wealth, we'll give them the Passive Income Launch Kit course for free, which is normally $97. So Sweet. I think that's a really good way to get started and then see if this is something that fits for you or not. Okay. Well, then make sure you guys take advantage of that. Well, Mark, I really appreciate your time and, the value that you have provided here with us. It's something that's definitely a niche space. And, there's definitely a lot of opportunity in here. So, again, thank you so much. And I wish you continued success. Juan Vargas, same to you. Thank you so much.